is Vesak, the most important date in the Buddhist calendar, marking the birth, enlightenment and passing away of Lord Buddha. And here at the Lankarama Temple in Western Sydney, people have gathered to pray for peace after the recent atrocities in Sri Lanka. On Easter Sunday 2019, Muslim extremists targeted Christian worshippers and holidaymakers, killing 250 people. In a country already battered and bruised by ethnic conflict that lasted 26 years, this attack was devastating for Sri Lankans everywhere. Compass explores the religious complexities of this island nation of 22 million people. It's late evening in Kandy, once the capital of Sri Lankan kings. Pilgrims flock to the Dalada Maligawa, the holiest Buddhist temple in the country. A popular destination for tourists and Sri Lankans, it houses the tooth relic of Lord Buddha.
I think it's very important that we bring our children to the most sacred Buddhist temple in Sri Lanka, and this is the environment we grew up. Our parents did that with us, and we try to continue that tradition with our children. So that's why we come to the Maligawa every year. It's the most sacred place for the Buddhists in Sri Lanka.
On holidays from Sydney, the De Silva family usually make the Dalada Maligawa the very first place they visit.
There's traditional instruments playing. You can hear that in the distance, and as you get closer and closer, it's like you're being drawn into it. The incense, the smell of incense, it gets stronger. And that's another aspect of the Maligawa that makes it all the more tranquil, because you're drawn in by the sounds and the scent. There were so many people around me, so many different people of different cultures and backgrounds, and I just found that so amazing that all these people can get together and appreciate the Dalada Maligawa and just Buddhism in general.
According to legend, the tooth relic was brought to Sri Lanka by an Indian princess in 313 AD. Closely guarded since then, it is only displayed on special occasions.
Believing that there's something of Lord Buddha that lies here, and I think it's a significant thing for the Buddhists in Sri Lanka.
Sri Lanka has always been at the centre of global trade routes. Over centuries, people of different faiths settled here. Today, Hindus are about 12% of the population, Muslims around 10%, and Christians 7%. But at 70% of the population, it's Buddhists who are the majority in this multi-faith country. In the peaceful surroundings of the western province of Sri Lanka, the monks of the Jetavanaramaya forest monastery have given up worldly comforts in their search for enlightenment.
Monkhood is not a destination, it's a journey. So one who comes here has to be prepared to go on that journey. And sometimes it can be quite arduous. It can be quite challenging. But you have to be prepared to reach for that goal and target that you should have seen before you come into robes. I think that's when monkhood can be successful. We listened to the Dhamma. We understood the Buddhist philosophy. We understand that this is more than a way of life. It's a journey that we need to go on to seek emancipation, that liberation that the Buddha taught. And for that, we've come here so that we can dedicate our entire lives to practicing the path.
Before he became a monk, Amar Dasana Tero was a solutions architect with the Royal Bank of Scotland in London.
It was a lot about living a successful life, becoming prosperous. So this was an investment bank. Typically, they're quite successful people and people who are quite ambitious in life. So the kind of philosophy I got to learn there was, while you're alive, earn as much money as you can, work hard and work smart and be successful, set your goals, have your targets. So it was that kind of environment I was in.
While working in London, Vimukti, as he was then called, married his childhood sweetheart, Madhu.
Around the age of 21, well, our parents, they said, you both know each other so well. They asked us if we were okay with the idea of getting married to each other. By then, we too had kind of fell in love with each other. So by the age of 21, we married.
Now known as Bhikkhuni Dhammadasana, she too is seeking spiritual enlightenment.
My dream was to be the richest, have all the wealth and have all the luxuries that I would like to have, all the dresses, all the makeup, all the friends and pubs and dancing. So once I was in London, I felt that, okay, so now I'm on the top of the world. I've got everything I need. So it was quite a happy life there. We liked being funny. We liked going out with friends and traveling around the world, around the cities. And so married life was more of happiness than suffering. So
soon after, Madhu, who was my wife then, she suggested, why don't we go to the temple and offer an alms at least once a month? And I thought, that's not a bad idea. So I think that's kind of how this all started. I was inquisitive and curious about the Dhamma prior to that, but I don't think I practiced. It was more of I was acquiring knowledge whenever there was a chance to do it, but I wasn't a practicing Buddhist. I just was a Buddhist for the namesake.
We listened for about 4 or 5 hours to the Dhamma, and we didn't feel the time passing. And then we came back to our vehicle, and we were in the same idea of thinking that we found what we were looking for. There is something in this Dhamma than just going to the temple and worshipping and just offering flowers, that there is something more to this. There is something that we could gain from this. So we both got into the same idea at the very first session.
Pretty soon we realized that there was more to life than what we thought was the purpose of life. After I'd been listening to sermons for about, I think, 3 years or so, both my wife and I decided it was enough time that we'd spent in lay life, and now a whole world awaits us. A new purpose in life awaits us. And we decided, let's make that turn in our lives.
It wasn't a difficult decision, because by then we knew how futile this materialistic life was, how how misled we were. We thought we were getting ourselves into the path of happiness, but it was happiness masked, the suffering masked in happiness. So it wasn't a difficult decision.
Breaking the news to their parents was a difficult decision, but Amadasana Tero's mother wasn't surprised.
I think she kind of knew that this was coming. She did ask me, why do you want to do it so soon? You've got a good life for yourself, you've got a good wife, you've got property and wealth and all that, so why do you want to do this now? And that's when I had a heart-to-heart conversation with my mother, explaining to her that despite all the wealth that I've got, I want a life where nothing in this world can shake my happiness. That's the kind of happiness I want, independence. Reminds me of how, when a lot of people, they travel to other countries looking for a better life, and they think of it as a destination. Some people might think coming into monkhood is also a destination. It's not a destination. It's the beginning of a journey.
Buddhism has two major areas. One is the Buddhist ethos of monks who live in the forest, who meditate, who leave everything out. From a household to a houseless state, they are meditating. So there's a kind of a tag attached to them that they were more pious. They were the people they were the monks who were interacting with the village people, who were giving them solace, understanding in return of keeping them with their offerings of food. So that was the kind of a relationship they had. But the urban structure is different. It's more cosmopolitan. So this is where the more showpiece of Buddhism comes, because the sculptured art, certain offering and ceremonies, all these things are part of the more, what you call the popular religion. Now that has nothing to do with what you call the salvation. You're liberating yourself from your attachments to this world, and that is the meditating monks who are outside.
In Sri Lankan Buddhists also, they worship statues, trees, and all this stuff. And they do perahara also, which means dancing and all this stuff. But it's not real Buddhism or real Lord Buddha's philosophy. Philosophy is something. Therefore, we must follow philosophy. If you don't follow philosophy, you can't find the real truth.
The monks live in a kuti or hut, and each monk is allowed only 6 possessions.
I must admit, I don't take a lot of time to study what goes on outside these 4 walls, because I left that life behind. So for me now, the teaching of the Buddha is all that I need, because that gives me happiness and brings me salvation every day that I practice. I know I'm a different person to who I was yesterday.
Not all monks in Sri Lanka share the same peaceful sentiments. The Bodubala Sena, also known as the Buddhist Power Force or BBS, claim Muslims are taking over the country. They envy their business acumen, criticise their high birth rate and accuse them of funding terrorism.
Take this very, very seriously and check house to house, check mosque to mosque, and find out who are living in this country.
Shukri Kasim has first-hand experience of this resentment towards Muslims.
I'm not a Muslim in Sri Lanka. I'm a Sri Lankan Muslim. I was born in Sri Lanka. My mother was born in Sri Lanka. My father was born in Sri Lanka. My grandfather was born in Sri Lanka. My great-grandfather was born in Sri Lanka. So I am as Sri Lankan as anyone is.
The BBS actually represent a kind of a militant wing that represents themselves as the custodians or the saviors. Now, this is nothing to do with the Buddhist philosophy and religion. These are obviously certain fringe groups. I think they have a kind of an ideology per se. It's a kind of reactive policy against people who they believe that they pose a threat to this country, a threat to this culture, a threat to the sovereignty of the people. So they have these whole slogans that go on.
In March 2018, a young Buddhist died during an argument with a group of Muslims. Following the funeral, Buddhist extremists attacked Muslim businesses and homes.
on the 5th of March when riots were happening in Digana, the first call that I got was from a Buddhist friend of mine, a Buddhist colleague of mine. He said, there seems to be problems in Kandy. If you feel unsafe, you can go to my place. You're always welcome. There was tension around the area, among Muslims. In our homes, we were a bit tensed and we felt a bit unsafe. So I saw a mob marching towards our place. They were pelting stones to the Muslim. They were picking Muslim houses and pelting stones at them. Right in front of my eyes, all the windows and doors were, broken. Stones were being thrown at them, and there were huge sticks that they had. They beat the doors and windows with them. And my car was padlocked inside the garage. They broke the padlock. They went inside the garage and set the car on fire. So that was my first car. So it was a bit too emotional for me. We were all petrified, traumatized, and we didn't know what to do. The houses that were facing the road were set on fire. The vehicles that were there set on fire. The houses that were facing the road were, vandalized. And we somehow escaped from the back door of the house and fled away.
I attribute it to nothing to do with the religions. No religion talks about violence and things. It talks about the economic interest and political interest. Here, what really comes up is, end of the colonial period, you find this conflict really coming up. There you find the conflict, the economic conflict with the mercantile sector, especially the Islamic communities, Hindu communities, the Buddhist communities who are now trying to share the spoils of the mercantile culture.
Some people think that they are Buddhists, but they kill other people. They hurt other people. Buddhists can't do that. Therefore, in Sri Lanka, what we expect is there should be real Buddhists, not the people who think that they are Buddhist.
I don't think you can blame the religion or the faith just because some people who say that they practice that faith does something. It's, I won't say, so a phrase that I always call out is that for my mistakes or for my errors, blame me, not my religion. Because I may not be perfect, but my religion is. That's something, I call out, all the time. But I think the same would apply to Buddhism as well. Because as far as I know, it has been voted as the most peaceful religion in the world.
At home in Sydney, Buddhism continues to hold a special place for the De Silva household.
We have a shrine, the front of the house, as you enter the house. So that's the most significant place. We try and worship almost every day. And the children, especially when they do important things like going to an exam or anything important in their lives, they usually go to the shrine, worship before they leave the house.
See you doing some homework. What are you reading?
Stress Reduction for Youth. It's a book with meditation.
Oh, nice. I need to do some meditation myself. Let's see. Oh, wow. Have you finished reading this?
No, but from what I've read so far, that monk was ordained when he was 9.
9?
Like a child monk. Like the ones we saw in Sri Lanka.
Once you finish reading, I might go through that myself.
Yeah. Being at home and learning and practicing Buddhism so much, it's kind of like living a double life because at home there's all these traditions and a lot of my friends didn't know what Buddhism is, or they've heard of it, but they didn't know what it is. And the predominant religion at my school is Christianity. It was actually quite interesting to tell them my own and have them listen, and then to tell me their religions and listen, and me listening as well.
Buddhism itself is, in my belief, it's a philosophy, right? It's not a religion as such. So there are a lot of room to challenge, ask questions, and clarify things. Buddha himself said that, don't believe just because I say it, see for yourself, practice, ask questions. I think Buddhism encourages that.
Tonight, more than 100 people are killed in coordinated bombings at churches and hotels in Sri Lanka.
When the Easter Sunday bombings took place, the De Silvas found it difficult to comprehend the scale of the attacks.
As Buddhists, we used to go to St. Anthony's Church. Not only Catholics, even the Buddhists go to that church because it's a very sacred place, not only for Catholics, even for Buddhists.
We grew up together with other religions, so we played together, we ate together, and we did lots of things, like interacted.
We lived in harmony. It was very peaceful at the time.
Soon after the attacks, people of all faiths gathered for a candlelight vigil at St Mary's Cathedral in Sydney.
Catholicism is widely regarded as a unifying force in Sri Lanka because its worshippers include both Tamils and Sinhalese. Its schools accommodate Buddhist, Muslim as well as Christian children, and its clinics care for all comers. They were people just like us, engaged in acts of worship, of leisure, or of civic duty. We mourn them as our brothers and sisters.
I think Sri Lanka is a very resilient. I'm looking at being Sri Lankan first and being a Muslim or a Hindu or a Buddhist late, that's a separate thing. I think you've got to be Sri Lankan first and then go into different religions. They've gone through a 26-year civil war and they've come back very strong from it. I hope they get over this and live in peace.
It should be the next generation that should be taught what religious tolerance is. And you should teach the next generation, the younger generation, that one religion is not superior to the other. Because you can live, you can be happy, but your happiness should not be threatening or saddening for another human being.
It's not just a way of life. It's not a jewel that you can wear on your crown. What Buddhism is, what Buddhist philosophy is the path to eternal bliss. Despite whatever happens in the world, no matter what the world throws at you, come rain or shine, Buddhist philosophy gives you a way to be happy, no matter what comes your way. If people take that on board, the transformation becomes obvious. And I hope that day happens for a lot of people in our country very soon.
I feel in this period of conflict that's going on, there are a lot of people who have come to realize that conflict areas is not going to deliver anything. You have to reach out, to work with people together, whatever creed and everything, because this is a small island. And we have lived like that for thousands of years. We have lived like that for thousands of years. Now, once you have that idea behind you and you know that unless you stand together with everyone, then I think there's hope.
Join Geraldine Doog as she discovers Deborah Cheatham's sacred space.
This is the Barmah Forest. It's the spiritual home of the Yorta Yorta people. My mother, my grandmother, my great-grandmother would have known this space very well. My parents had taught me to say that, look, I'm Debbie Joy Cheatham and I'm an adopted Aboriginal. Even in my 20s, there was still no positive connection to my Aboriginal identity. I can't imagine what my life would have been without opera in it. It's the great love affair of my life.